Elon Musk was feeling the pressure. The day had been packed with back-to-back meetings, and as his watch buzzed with a reminder for the next one, he felt a familiar weight settle on his shoulders. The next meeting was crucial, the agenda packed with decisions that could impact Tesla's future, and he needed to be there on time. Glancing at the clock, Elon realized he was running behind. 5 minutes, he muttered under his breath. I can make it if I take the shortcut through the park. As usual, his mind raced through a million thoughts. The new Tesla Model S had just made its mark in the market. SpaceX was working on the next big step toward Mars, and there was always the pressure to improve on battery technology and energy solutions. Every decision seemed like it could change the world. The weight of it all had been hanging on him for years, but it wasn't a burden, it was his purpose. He walked briskly, cutting through the crowded San Francisco sidewalk and onto the small, quiet park he had often passed but rarely visited. The crisp autumn air felt refreshing against his face as he slowed his pace to navigate the path through the park's trees, their leaves fluttering down. It was a peaceful place surrounded by green benches and a few scattered joggers, but it wasn't long before Elon noticed a figure sitting on one of the benches. At first glance, the man seemed just like many others Elon had seen on the streets. Unshaven, wearing worn-out clothes and sitting with a disheveled backpack. But something made Elon pause. The man's shirt, an old faded black Tesla t-shirt, he stopped in his tracks. Elon had seen many people wearing Tesla shirts, of course, but something about this shirt struck him. It wasn't the usual promotional gear. It looked like one of the original designs, several years old, with the red Tesla logo cracking and peeling. Most people wearing old Tesla merchandise didn't necessarily have an understanding of the company's vision, but this man, despite his rough appearance, was wearing something significant. Elon's curiosity got the better of him. He approached the bench, trying to shake off the feeling that something more was at play here. The man stirred as Elon approached, his eyes flickering with surprise, then fear. The man sat up quickly, his face momentarily filled with panic. But as soon as his eyes met Elon's, the fear melted into recognition. "Sorry," the man muttered, his voice rough and cracked from lack of use. "I'll move along." Elon waved his hand, signaling him to stay. "No, wait. Your shirt, it's Tesla," Elon said, a slight hint of intrigue in his voice. The man looked down at his shirt, as if noticing it for the first time. Then his eyes widened as he looked back up at Elon. "You're him," the man said quietly. "You're Elon Musk." Elon smiled and nodded. "And you're wearing my company's shirt." The man ran a hand through his tangled hair, his movements awkward and self-conscious. "Found it in a donation box a while back," he said, shrugging. "Keeps me warm. I hope that's okay." "Of course," Elon replied, though he was still puzzled. "Do you like Tesla?" The man's face lit up with a smile that was almost surprising, given his appearance. "Electric is the future," he said with unexpected enthusiasm. "I used to work in a factory that made parts for gas cars. Always thought we were on the wrong side of history." His smile faded a bit. "But that was a long time ago." Elon's curiosity deepened. This man, clearly down on his luck, had a spark in his eyes that seemed out of place for someone who had fallen so far. Elon couldn't shake the feeling that there was something more to this stranger than met the eye. "What's your name?" Elon asked. "Adam Miller," the man replied. Then he paused, almost sheepishly. "And you're Elon Musk?" "Kind of famous," Elon replied with a small chuckle. The two men stood there, an awkward silence hanging between them. Elon could feel the weight of the differences between them, billionaire versus homeless. But there was something connecting them, something in the conversation that Elon couldn't quite put his finger on. Adam broke the silence. "I followed what you're doing with the cars," he said, his voice warming up a bit. "And the rockets, too. Pretty amazing stuff." Elon, taken aback by the clarity in Adam's voice, leaned in slightly. "You know about the rockets?" "SpaceX," Adam said, nodding. "Sure, I read about the Starship whenever I get a chance." "Reusable rockets? They change everything. Makes space travel actually possible on a large scale." He paused for a moment, his eyes almost lighting up with a kind of admiration. "It's visionary." Elon studied him, intrigued. "And you understand all of this?" Adam smiled, though there was a hint of sadness in his expression. "Yeah, it's been a passion of mine. I used to work in a factory, like I said, but after everything happened, well, I've had a lot of time to think. Elon's phone buzzed in his pocket, pulling him back to reality. He had to leave, but he couldn't quite shake the feeling that something was significant about this encounter. I have to go, Elon said, glancing at his watch. I'm late for a meeting. He paused, then reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card, something he rarely carried. If you ever want to talk more about electric cars or rockets, Elon said, handing it to Adam, give that number a call. It goes to my assistant, but they'll pass the message to me. Adam took the card carefully, almost as though it were made of fragile paper. He stared at it for a moment, looking confused, before looking up at Elon. Why? He asked, his voice quiet. Elon wasn't entirely sure himself. I like talking to people who understand the vision, he said. Not everyone does. Adam nodded slowly and tucked the card into the pocket of his jeans. Thank you, he said, his voice softer now. Elon turned to leave, but something caught his eye. As Adam reached for his backpack, a small notebook slipped out, landing on the bench. Elon couldn't help but glance at it. The pages were filled with neat diagrams and complicated calculations. It looked like the kind of work someone deeply involved in engineering or technology would do. What's that? Elon asked, pointing to the notebook. Adam quickly closed it and stuffed it back into his bag. Nothing important, he said with a defensive tone. Just keeps my mind busy. Elon nodded, though his mind raced. Something about this encounter, this man, didn't add up, but he didn't press further. Take care, Adam, Elon said, starting to walk away. You too, Mr. Musk, Adam replied softly. As Elon made his way to the meeting, his thoughts kept drifting back to the man in the park. Something about Adam's eyes, the clarity with which he spoke about technology, lingered in his mind. And that notebook, what was it that Adam was hiding? What could someone so clearly educated be doing in such a situation? Elon pushed those thoughts aside for the moment, focusing on the rest of his day. But even as he sat down at the conference table and started discussing business, part of his mind remained in that park, wondering about the man wearing the faded Tesla shirt. How did someone so clearly knowledgeable about rockets and technology end up on a park bench? Adam Miller stood motionless as Elon's figure disappeared into the crowd, the sound of his footsteps fading as Elon walked away. For a brief moment, Adam could hardly believe what had just happened. A billionaire, one of the wealthiest and most influential people in the world, had spoken to him, had given him a business card, a direct line to his assistant. This wasn't just any random interaction. It was the kind of encounter that could change his life. But Adam knew better than to get his hopes up. Life had a way of tearing everything apart when things seemed too good to be true. He took a deep breath and looked at the card in his hand. It felt heavy, like it was made of something more significant than paper. The black text seemed to gleam under the afternoon sun, and for a moment, Adam let himself fantasize about what might happen if he actually reached out to Elon Musk. Maybe he would get a job at Tesla. Maybe his ideas, his innovations, would be seen for what they were. It was the kind of opportunity most people could only dream of. But then reality set in. Adam slipped the card into the back pocket of his jeans and picked up his backpack. His feet carried him through the park, but his mind was elsewhere, far from the present moment. He had to focus on the here and now, not on things that were out of his reach. He was no longer the man who had once dreamed of being at the forefront of technological breakthroughs. That Adam had died years ago, when everything fell apart. The walk back to the shelter was a familiar one, a routine he had become accustomed to. San Francisco, with its bright lights and towering skyscrapers, was a city of contrasts. Wealth and privilege existed side by side with the crushing weight of poverty. As Adam walked through the streets, he couldn't help but feel invisible. People rushed by without noticing him, just as they had for years. His worn clothes, scruffy beard, and unkempt hair made him blend into the background. He was just another homeless man trying to survive another day. But Adam wasn't just a homeless man. He wasn't just the guy who slept on park benches. He was an engineer, an inventor. He had spent years designing and refining his ideas, even when his world had crumbled around him. His mind had always been his greatest asset, and it was the one thing he hadn't lost. 5 years ago, Adam had everything: a wife, a daughter, a steady job at a reputable engineering company. His life had been a model of stability and success. But then everything changed. It started with the headaches. His daughter, Lily, had always been healthy and full of life. But as she grew older, she began complaining about frequent headaches. They thought it was just a phase, something that would pass. But when the nosebleeds started, Adam and his wife, Claire, knew something was seriously wrong. The diagnosis hit them like a freight train: leukemia. It felt like the world had dropped out from under them. The doctors were optimistic at first, talking about treatment options and remission, but the road ahead was anything but easy. Adam's focus shifted entirely to Lily. He couldn't think about work. He couldn't think about anything other than her health. He spent every moment in hospitals, holding her hand, trying to comfort her through the chemotherapy treatments. The medical bills piled up. They drained their savings, took out a second mortgage on their home, and maxed out their credit cards just to keep up. But even then, it wasn't enough. They were drowning in debt, and the stress was taking its toll on Adam and Claire's marriage. They fought over money, over the future, over their inability to make things better for Lily. It wasn't just the illness, it was everything else that came with it. The constant worry, the sleepless nights, the fear of losing their daughter. Then came the layoffs. Adam's company, which had once been a pillar of stability, announced it was downsizing. His department was eliminated. His job was gone. It didn't seem real at first. Adam believed that surely with his experience, he would find something else. But time passed, and the job offers never came. The industry was shifting, downsizing, and Adam's long gap in his resume from the time spent caring for Lily made him a less attractive candidate. He took whatever work he could find, temp jobs, freelance projects, but nothing paid enough to cover the bills. The foreclosure notices started to arrive. The collection agencies called relentlessly. Claire, exhausted from the constant pressure, began to withdraw. And then one night, she told him she was leaving. She needed space. She needed stability, for herself and for Lily. The divorce papers arrived 3 weeks later. Adam didn't argue. He couldn't. He was a failure. A father who couldn't provide for his family. A husband who couldn't keep his marriage intact. His dreams of working as an engineer, of making a difference in the world, felt like a distant memory. The day Claire and Lily left, Adam's world collapsed. His house was lost to the bank. He moved into a cheap apartment, but it wasn't long before he had to leave there too. Without steady work, the money quickly ran out. He moved into his car, and when that was repossessed, he turned to the streets. Homelessness wasn't something he had ever imagined. He hadn't thought he would ever be one of those people. One of the faces that blended into the background of the city, ignored by the world. But now it was his reality. And yet, through it all, Adam never stopped thinking, never stopped creating. He had his notebooks, 5 years worth of designs, calculations, and ideas. His passion for engineering had never died, even when everything else fell apart. Adam's specialty had always been batteries, more efficient ones that could power cars farther, charge faster, and last longer. He worked through the designs in his mind, sketching out equations and solutions in his notebooks. Even when he was sitting on a park bench, he would pull out his notebook and continue where he had left off, solving problems no one had asked him to solve. It was in those notebooks that Adam kept his hope alive. The ideas he had were not just theoretical. They were solutions to real-world problems. They could change the way the world looked at energy storage, but no one had listened to him. No one had cared, until now. Elon Musk had stopped. He had noticed something in Adam's eyes, in his words. And maybe, just maybe, there was a chance, just one chance, that this encounter could be the turning point Adam had been waiting for. As Adam reached the shelter, he tucked the notebook securely into his bag. It was his only possession of value. Everything else, his house, his family, his career, was gone. But this was his lifeline. He had no idea what tomorrow would bring, but for the first time in years, he allowed himself to believe that maybe, just maybe, things could get better. The night had fallen by the time Adam arrived back at the shelter. The streets were quieter now, with only a few people lingering near streetlights, waiting for buses, or walking in pairs. Adam barely noticed the movement around him. His mind was preoccupied with the business card that had been tucked into his pocket since his encounter with Elon Musk in the park earlier that afternoon. It was surreal, the whole thing. A billionaire, one of the most successful men on the planet, had not only stopped to talk to him, but had also given him a way to reach out. It was an opportunity that Adam had never dared to imagine in his darkest moments. He stepped into the shelter, the familiar scent of unwashed clothes and stale air hitting him immediately. He made his way to the common area, where a few others were huddled together, some reading, some watching television. He didn't speak much to anyone here. His life had become a series of quiet, solitary moments. The noise of the world outside had faded for him, replaced by his own thoughts and the ticking clock of survival. His bunk was near the back of the room, tucked away from the others. Adam threw his backpack onto the small cot and sat down heavily. The card from Elon still felt like a weight in his pocket, something real in an otherwise unreal world. He pulled the card out again, running his fingers over the edges. The black text was just as crisp as it had been when Elon handed it to him, and yet now it seemed so far away from his life. What could a man like Elon Musk possibly want with him? A homeless former engineer with no job, no family, and nothing but a backpack full of notebooks filled with ideas no one had ever cared about. Yet here it was, a lifeline, a chance to reach out to the one person who might believe in the very thing that had kept Adam going all these years. The belief that technology could solve problems, change the world, and maybe, just maybe, offer a way back to something better. Adam stared at the business card, his mind racing through 1,000 scenarios. He imagined himself walking into Tesla's headquarters, dressed in a suit, confident and capable, sharing his ideas with a room full of engineers. He imagined Elon Musk nodding in approval, handing him a project that would shape the future of energy. It all seemed so far-fetched. He had nothing left to lose, though, nothing at all. Finally, with a deep breath, Adam reached into his bag and pulled out his old battered laptop. It had died 6 months ago, but he had found a way to get it working again. He powered it on, the screen flickering and crackling before coming to life. The dim glow of the screen lit up his face, and he paused for a moment. This wasn't just a laptop anymore. It was his connection to the world, to possibilities that lay just out of reach. With shaking hands, he opened up an email draft, his fingers hovering over the keys. What would he say? How would he explain himself? How could he possibly articulate the ideas that had been floating in his head for years? The ones he had sketched out in countless notebooks? He knew he wasn't a salesman. He wasn't one of those people who could craft a perfect pitch, a catchy slogan, or a slick presentation. He was an engineer, someone who could build things, solve problems, and create new solutions. But asking Elon Musk to take a chance on him, a man living in a shelter, was a different kind of problem. How could he convince him to see past his appearance, his situation, and recognize his potential? After a long pause, Adam started typing. Dear Mr. Musk, I hope this message finds you well. My name is Adam Miller. We met earlier today in a park in San Francisco. You may remember me as the man wearing the faded Tesla t-shirt. I wasn't sure if I should follow up on our brief conversation, but something about it made me believe that maybe this could be a turning point in my life. I've spent years working on ideas related to battery technology and energy solutions. In the past, I worked as an engineer designing components for the automotive industry. However, my life took a difficult turn after personal and financial setbacks. Despite everything, I never stopped working on my ideas, especially around energy storage and battery efficiency. Over the past few years, I've developed several designs that I believe could contribute to Tesla's mission of creating a sustainable energy future. I know my current situation may not seem ideal, and I understand if you're skeptical. But I would appreciate the opportunity to discuss my work with you and explore whether there might be a way to collaborate or contribute in some capacity. I've attached some of my sketches and ideas, though I realize they may not mean much without context. Thank you for your time and consideration. I look forward to hearing from you. Best regards, Adam Miller. He read the email again, his heart pounding in his chest. It felt so vulnerable, sending a message like this to a man who could change his life. But what else was there? What did he have to lose? He clicked send and sat back, staring at the screen for a moment. The world outside the shelter seemed distant, as if he were standing on the edge of it, peering in but unable to truly step inside. But for the first time in a long while, Adam allowed himself to hope. Maybe this was the beginning of something new. The hours dragged on as Adam sat in his cot, staring at the blinking cursor on his screen. He checked his email every few minutes, as though willing something to happen. A reply, any kind of response. But nothing came. The shelter grew quieter as people settled in for the night. The sound of snoring filled the room, but Adam couldn't sleep. His mind raced with possibilities, with doubt, and with excitement. Eventually, he drifted off to sleep, though the comfort of it eluded him. The next morning, he woke to the sound of his phone buzzing. He had received an email. His heart leapt in his chest as he read the subject line: Meeting in the park. The message was brief but to the point. Mr. Miller, thank you for reaching out. I've reviewed your email and would like to meet in person to discuss your ideas further. Please contact my assistant at the number below to schedule a time. Looking forward to hearing more. Best, Elon Musk. Adam's hands trembled as he reread the message. It was real. Elon Musk, the man who had changed the world, wanted to hear more about his ideas. A wave of disbelief washed over him, followed by an overwhelming sense of possibility. He was going to meet Elon Musk, the moment that could change everything. The morning sunlight filtered through the windows of the small cafe where Adam had arranged to meet Elon Musk. He had barely slept the night before, his mind still racing with the enormity of the opportunity ahead. It was hard to believe that just a few days ago, he had been wandering the streets, struggling to survive. Now he was about to sit down with one of the world's most influential entrepreneurs. Adam had spent hours preparing himself mentally for this moment, but now as he stood outside the Noble Cafe, his nerves began to unravel. He adjusted his shirt, a clean but faded blue one from a second-hand store, clipped on the collar of a borrowed jacket, and tried to steady his breathing. He felt like an imposter. What would Elon think of him? Would he see past the rough edges, the unkempt hair, the tired eyes, and see the man who had been fighting to rebuild himself, fighting to contribute? His heart raced as he pushed open the door to the cafe, the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee mixed with the hum of casual conversations. Adam walked in, glancing around. It was a cozy spot, with warm wooden furniture and soft lighting. A few people were scattered around, quietly sipping their drinks, but Adam's eyes were locked on one spot. At the far end of the cafe, near the back window, Elon Musk sat at a table, flipping through some papers. He looked up and met Adam's gaze immediately. There was no denying the feeling of awe that washed over Adam as he took a few steps toward the table. Elon Musk, the man who had revolutionized electric vehicles, who had pushed humanity closer to space exploration, was sitting there, waiting for him. Adam, Elon greeted him with a warm smile, rising to shake his hand. Good to meet you in person. Please have a seat. Adam sat down across from Elon, suddenly feeling the weight of the moment. He could feel the nerves creeping up his spine, but he forced himself to focus. This wasn't just any meeting. This was a chance to finally show someone that his ideas were more than just scribbles in a notebook. They were solutions, real solutions. I appreciate you taking the time to meet with me, Mr. Musk. Adam began, his voice betraying only a slight tremble. Elon, please, Elon replied, leaning back in his chair. We're here to talk about your ideas, not mine. Adam nodded, swallowing hard. Right, of course. I'm not sure where to start, he said, fumbling slightly with the papers he'd brought, a collection of his sketches and designs. He hadn't had much time to prepare a polished presentation, but he knew these designs were solid. He had spent years perfecting them, working tirelessly, even when the world had turned its back on him. Well, Elon said, his voice calm and patient, I've looked through your email and the designs you sent. I have to admit, I'm intrigued. You've been working on battery technology, correct? Efficiency, range, charging speeds? Adam nodded, relieved to hear that Elon had reviewed his ideas. Yes, I've spent a lot of time focusing on improving energy storage. I know Tesla is doing incredible things with batteries already, but there's still so much potential to make them better. Faster charging, longer lifespan, and more efficient power delivery. Elon leaned forward, his eyes focused intently on Adam. What do you think is the biggest issue with current battery technology? Adam hesitated for a moment, gathering his thoughts. Well, in most designs, the cathode structure isn't optimized for the flow of ions. The lithium ions can get stuck or move inefficiently, which causes heat buildup, limits charging speed, and shortens the battery's lifespan. My design creates more direct channels for the ions to move through, allowing for faster charging without generating excess heat. Elon raised an eyebrow. That sounds interesting. I know we've been working on similar concepts, but your approach is different. Adam's eyes lit up. Yes, instead of using uniform spacing, I've designed the cathode with adjustable spacing between the electrodes depending on the use case. This makes the battery more flexible, and it can adapt to higher demands for power without compromising efficiency. Elon nodded, seemingly impressed. And what about the issue of battery degradation? We know that's a huge problem in electric vehicles. Adam shuffled through his papers and pulled out a diagram that showed his solution. I've been developing a way to prevent degradation by monitoring the battery's charging patterns. By using an algorithm that adjusts the charge based on usage history, we can prevent overcharging and reduce the strain on the battery over time. This would extend the lifespan significantly. Elon didn't speak immediately, his gaze fixed on the designs in front of him. Adam watched as he scanned the pages carefully, his eyes narrowing as he absorbed the details. "You've really thought this through," Elon finally said, looking up from the papers. "These designs, this approach, they're more than just theoretical. You've done the work." Adam felt a surge of hope rise in his chest. Elon's words, his approval, meant more than Adam could express. This was the validation he had needed for years. It wasn't just that his ideas could change the world. It was that someone as accomplished as Elon Musk believed in them. "I've been working on this for 5 years," Adam admitted quietly. "I don't have a team, no lab to test in. It's all been in my head and on paper. But I believe in this. I know it can work." Elon smiled, clearly considering something. "It's impressive, and I can see the potential. The things you've come up with here, they could help Tesla move forward faster. But here's the thing, Adam. We're working on similar challenges at Tesla. We've got teams focusing on energy storage, next-gen batteries, but you're right. We're not there yet. Your ideas could be exactly what we need to take things to the next level." Adam felt a sense of disbelief creeping in. "So, what does that mean? Are you willing to give it a shot?" Elon leaned back in his chair, his hands folded together. "Here's what I'm thinking. I'd like to bring you in as a consultant. We have a team working on new battery technologies, and I think your input could make a real difference. No promises yet, but if your designs check out and they can be integrated into what we're doing, we'll talk about a more formal role." Adam's heart skipped a beat. A consultant? That was a step beyond what he had hoped for. It was a real chance. "I can't believe this," Adam said, his voice low with emotion. "You're saying you want to work with me?" Elon smiled. "I'm saying that I'm intrigued by your work. If it holds up, we'll move forward. It's all about what you can contribute." For the first time in what felt like years, Adam allowed himself to believe that things could truly change. This was a new beginning, not just a chance to prove himself, but a chance to shape the future. "Thank you," Adam said, his voice filled with gratitude. "I won't let you down." Elon stood, offering his hand across the table. "Let's see what we can do together. I'm looking forward to working with you, Adam." The following days felt like a whirlwind for Adam. After meeting with Elon Musk at Noble Cafe, he couldn't stop replaying the conversation in his head. His heart still raced with the realization that he had been given a chance, an actual opportunity to work with one of the most innovative companies in the world. His mind raced as he thought about how everything had led up to this moment. The streets, the park bench, the notebooks full of his ideas. It was all converging into something real. The meeting ended with a handshake and an agreement to take his ideas further. Elon had made it clear, Adam would be brought in as a consultant, starting immediately. Tesla's engineering team would review his designs, and if everything checked out, he would continue working with them on their next-generation battery technology. It was the kind of opportunity that Adam had once only dreamed about, and now it was within reach. For the first time in years, Adam allowed himself to feel something he hadn't felt in a long time: hope. He could feel the weight of the years of hardship beginning to lift, and he dared to imagine a future where he was more than just a homeless man, more than just someone with nothing but a backpack full of ideas. A few days later, Adam was invited to Tesla's headquarters. He stood outside the sleek glass building, his nerves bubbling up again. It was surreal. He had spent so much time imagining what it would be like to walk into this place, to be a part of this world. And now, he was about to step inside. The receptionist greeted him with a warm smile, checking his name against the list. "Mr. Miller, welcome to Tesla," she said, handing him a visitor badge. "We're excited to have you here." Adam nodded, feeling like a fish out of water. He wasn't used to this kind of attention. He had spent so long trying to go unnoticed, trying to blend into the background. But now he was standing in the heart of Tesla, about to meet with a team of engineers who would evaluate his ideas. He was led through the modern, sleek halls of Tesla's headquarters, past open-plan offices where employees worked diligently at their desks. Adam couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at the energy in the air. This was the place where innovation happened, where the future was being built, and he was about to be a part of it. Finally, he was led to a conference room where a few of Tesla's engineers were already seated. They were a mix of men and women, all dressed casually in Tesla-branded attire, their faces filled with curiosity as Adam entered. At the head of the table sat Dr. Helen Maxwell, a woman with sharp eyes and an air of authority. Adam had heard of her. She was one of the top engineers at Tesla, known for her work on battery systems. "Mr. Miller, it's a pleasure to meet you, Doctor," Maxwell said, standing and extending her hand. "We've reviewed your designs, and I must say, I'm intrigued by what you've developed." Adam shook her hand, feeling a rush of excitement. "Thank you, Dr. Maxwell. I'm glad to be here. It's been a long road to get here." "You're not the only one," Dr. Maxwell said with a small smile. "I've seen my fair share of engineers who've been through difficult times, but your story is truly unique. I admire your persistence." Adam sat down at the table, feeling both nervous and excited. He had no idea what to expect, but he knew this was his shot. If he could convince them that his ideas were worth pursuing, it could lead to something bigger, maybe even a real position at Tesla. The engineers began to go over his designs, asking questions and pushing him to explain the finer details of his battery technology. Adam spoke with confidence, his passion for his work evident in his voice. He explained the new cathode structure, the adjustable electrode spacing, and the predictive algorithm he had developed to prevent battery degradation. As he spoke, he felt the weight of the past few years lifting. This was what he was meant to do. This was where he belonged. The discussion was intense, but the engineers seemed genuinely interested in what Adam had to offer. They asked questions, challenged his assumptions, and pushed him to think deeper about the practical applications of his designs. But with every question, Adam's confidence grew. He knew his stuff. He had spent years working on these ideas, and he could feel that Tesla was the place where they could finally come to life. After an hour of technical discussions, Dr. Maxwell turned to Adam. "I think we're all very impressed with your work, Adam. These are ideas that we've been exploring in some form, but your approach is fresh. I'd like to suggest we move forward with a small team to start testing your designs." Adam's heart raced. "So you're saying you'll work with me? Test my ideas?" Dr. Maxwell nodded. "Yes, if everything checks out, we'll look into expanding the scope of your work here. You'll be part of the team working on next-gen battery technology, contributing to our roadmap for the future." Adam could hardly believe what he was hearing. This wasn't just a temporary consultancy. This was a chance to contribute to something much bigger, to be part of Tesla's mission to change the world. It was a dream come true. "Thank you," Adam said, his voice thick with emotion. "I won't let you down. This is everything I've been working for." Dr. Maxwell gave him a small, knowing smile. "We're looking forward to seeing what you can do, Adam. Welcome to the team." Adam left the meeting feeling as though he were walking on air. He had made it. From the park bench, from the streets, to sitting in the conference room of one of the world's most innovative companies. This was his second chance. Over the next few weeks, Adam worked closely with Tesla's engineers, contributing his ideas and refining his designs. The team was collaborative, and Adam found himself part of a group that respected his knowledge and valued his input. The technical challenges were tough, but they were nothing compared to the personal challenges he had overcome. Adam felt a renewed sense of purpose. He was no longer just surviving, he was thriving. But as much as his professional life was taking off, his personal life still hung in the balance. Adam had kept his distance from his ex-wife, Claire, and their daughter, Lily, after everything that had happened. They were in Ohio now, and Adam hadn't seen them in years. But with his newfound stability, he knew it was time to reach out. It was time to rebuild the bridges he had burned. One evening, as he sat in his modest apartment, Adam pulled out his phone. His hands were trembling slightly as he dialed Claire's number. The phone rang, then went to voicemail. Adam took a deep breath, left a message, and hung up. The uncertainty of how she would respond gnawed at him, but he knew it was the first step. For the first time in years, Adam felt that he was finally on the right path, and maybe, just maybe, he would be able to prove to Lily that her father could be more than just a dreamer. He could be someone she could be proud of. The weeks following Adam's first meeting with Tesla's engineering team passed in a blur. Each day seemed to blend into the next, filled with meetings, brainstorming sessions, and countless hours spent refining his designs. At first, he had been unsure of his place among the other engineers, but now, as he worked side by side with them, he began to feel like he truly belonged. Tesla's team was fast-paced and innovative, constantly pushing the boundaries of what was possible. Adam had always been a creative thinker, but here at Tesla, he was surrounded by people who shared that same mindset. They were all eager to find new solutions to the challenges facing electric vehicle technology, and Adam's ideas had brought a fresh perspective. His approach to improving battery efficiency by optimizing the cathode structure and creating adjustable electrode spacing was something that none of the engineers had fully explored before. The testing phase for his designs was just beginning, and the results were promising. Adam felt a growing sense of accomplishment every time he saw one of his ideas come to life in the lab. He had spent so long in the shadows, working alone on his designs, that he had almost forgotten what it felt like to be part of a team. Now his ideas were being put to the test, not in a park or in the quiet of his apartment, but in one of the most cutting-edge labs in the world. Yet despite all the progress he was making professionally, Adam couldn't shake the feeling of unease that lingered in the back of his mind. There were still the echoes of the past, the years he had spent homeless, the broken relationship with his family, and the distant memory of a life he had lost. Adam's thoughts often drifted to his daughter, Lily. It had been years since he had seen her, and the pain of that separation was always just beneath the surface. He hadn't heard back from Claire after leaving his voicemail, and that uncertainty gnawed at him. He had no right to ask for anything, but he couldn't help hoping that maybe, just maybe, Claire would let him back into their lives. One afternoon, after a long day in the lab, Adam sat at his desk, staring at the blueprint for his latest battery design. He had made great strides at Tesla, but his personal life still felt like an unfinished project. The notebook with his battery calculations sat beside him, but it was his phone that kept drawing his attention. He had left messages for Claire, but there had been no response. He glanced at the clock, almost 7 p.m. Tesla's headquarters was quieting down for the night, but Adam knew he wouldn't be able to leave the office until he had sent one more email. He had decided that he couldn't wait any longer. He needed to know where he stood with Claire, even if it meant hearing something he didn't want to hear. With shaky hands, he opened his email client and started typing. Dear Claire, I hope this message finds you well. I know it's been a long time since we last spoke, and I understand that I've hurt you. I'm not asking for your forgiveness, at least not yet, but I need you to know that I'm trying to rebuild my life. I've been working at Tesla for a few months now, and things are looking up for me in ways I never thought possible. I've started working on some groundbreaking energy storage projects, and I'm part of a team that's making real progress. But more than that, I wanted to say that I've been thinking about you and Lily every day. I can't change the past, but I want to try to make things right if you'll let me. I'd like to see Lily again. I know it's been years, but I'm ready to be there for her. I'm not asking for her back in my life, but I'd like the chance to show her that I've changed, that I've rebuilt myself. Please let me know if you'd be open to that. I understand if you need time, but I hope we can find a way forward. Warm regards, Adam. Adam stared at the screen for a moment, his thumb hovering over the send button. He felt exposed, vulnerable, like he was asking for something he wasn't sure he deserved, but he had to try. He had spent so many years hiding from the world, from his failures, from the consequences of his actions. It was time to face them. He hit send, then leaned back in his chair, his heart pounding in his chest. It was done. He couldn't take it back. The words were out there waiting for a response. With that, Adam turned his attention back to his work. The rest of the night blurred by as he threw himself into the designs, pushing aside the personal uncertainty that still lingered. But in the back of his mind, he couldn't help but wonder what Claire's response would be. Would she let him back in? Would he ever see his daughter again? As the days passed, Adam received a flood of messages from his team at Tesla. The early tests on his battery designs were going well. The improved cathode structure showed promise. Charging times were reduced by 15%, and the overall energy efficiency had increased by nearly 20%. This was what Adam had dreamed of, seeing his ideas being tested and validated in a real-world setting. But the personal side of his life was still unsettled. He checked his phone obsessively, waiting for an email, a message, a sign that Claire had seen his message. But nothing came. Every day, Adam fought the urge to check again, to call, to send more messages. But deep down, he knew he couldn't force this. It had to be Claire's decision. One morning, as Adam was walking into the office, his phone rang. It was an unknown number, but something about it made him pick up. "Hello," Adam said, his voice thick with uncertainty. "Adam." The voice on the other end was familiar, though it had been years since he had heard it. "Claire," Adam said softly, his heart leaping. "I didn't expect to hear from you." There was a long pause before Claire spoke again. "I got your message," she said, her voice guarded, "and I've been thinking a lot about it." Adam's chest tightened as he waited for her to continue. "I've been reading about your work at Tesla," she said. "It sounds like things are really moving forward for you. I'm glad to hear that." Adam smiled faintly, but it felt bittersweet. "I've worked hard to get here. But Claire, I really want to see Lily again. I'm not asking for anything else, but I need to prove to her, and to you, that I've changed, that I can be there for her now." There was another pause, but this one felt less tense, as though Claire was considering his words. Finally, she spoke. "I'll think about it," she said quietly, "but I need to know you're truly stable before I make any decisions. I can't just let Lily's life be a part of some experiment." "I understand," Adam replied, his voice sincere. "I'm not asking for everything all at once. Just a chance to show her I'm different." Claire sighed. "I'll think about it, Adam, but I'll need time." "I'll wait," Adam said. "Take all the time you need." The following weeks were a blur of work, testing, and refining Adam's designs. His battery technology was gaining traction at Tesla, with early prototypes showing promising results. The team had started discussing large-scale tests, and there was talk of incorporating Adam's innovations into future Tesla models. It was everything he had worked for, every moment of hardship, every hour spent in libraries and shelters, all coming together in this one opportunity. But despite his professional progress, Adam's personal life remained in limbo. He hadn't heard back from Claire after their phone conversation. The uncertainty gnawed at him daily. He tried to focus on his work, but every time he glanced at his phone, his heart would skip a beat, hoping for a message from her. Tesla's headquarters was buzzing with activity. Adam had grown used to the high-energy atmosphere, but it never lost its thrill. He was surrounded by some of the brightest minds in the world, and he had the chance to contribute to something truly groundbreaking. He was no longer a homeless man with nothing but a backpack full of ideas. He was a part of something larger, something that could change the world. Still, there were moments when the weight of his past pressed down on him. At night, when the office lights dimmed and the building grew quiet, Adam would sit at his desk, staring at the design blueprints. It wasn't the work that troubled him. It was the knowledge that there were still pieces of his life missing. His daughter Lily was still so far away. His relationship with Claire remained fragile, and Adam knew that if he wanted to make things right, he had to be patient. One evening, after another late night in the lab, Adam was walking back to his apartment, lost in thought. The city of San Francisco had always felt like a place of possibility, but it had also been a reminder of what he had lost. It was easy to get caught up in the fast pace of the city, to focus on the future, and the endless opportunities that lay ahead. But the past was still there, always lurking in the background. As he approached his apartment building, Adam's phone buzzed. It was a message from Claire. "Adam, I've been thinking a lot about what you said. I can't promise everything will be easy or that we can just pick up where we left off, but I'm willing to give you a chance to prove yourself. You can come visit Lily. We'll make it work, but I need to see consistency from you. I can't risk her being disappointed again. Let me know when you're free." Claire Adams stood still for a moment, staring at the message in disbelief. His heart swelled with a mixture of relief and excitement. It wasn't a perfect answer, but it was the one he had been waiting for. It was a chance to show Lily that he was still her father, still the man he once was, the man he wanted to be again. He quickly typed back, his fingers moving faster than his thoughts. "Thank you, Claire. I can't tell you how much this means to me. I'll make sure to prove myself, to you and to Lily. I'll be there as soon as I can. I'm ready." Adam stood there for a few more moments, the phone still in his hand. It wasn't the end of his journey, not by a long shot, but it was a step forward, a step toward healing, toward rebuilding the family he had lost. The next day, Adam arrived at Tesla early, his thoughts still occupied with the message from Claire. He tried to focus on his work, but his mind kept drifting back to the upcoming visit with Lily. It had been so long, and he wasn't sure what to expect. Would she even remember him? Would she be angry with him for disappearing all those years ago? The uncertainty loomed over him like a dark cloud. At lunch, he was sitting in the break room when Elon Musk approached him. Elon had been keeping tabs on Adam's progress with the battery technology, and today he seemed in particularly good spirits. "Adam, how's everything going?" Elon asked as he grabbed a coffee and sat across from him. "The tests on your battery prototypes are looking great. The energy efficiency increase is significant." Adam smiled, grateful for the compliment. "Thank you, Elon. I'm excited to see where this goes. It's been a lot of hard work, but I think we're getting there." Elon leaned back in his chair, studying Adam for a moment. "I've been talking to the team. We're moving forward with incorporating your designs into our next-generation battery systems. If this continues, I think we'll be able to significantly improve the range and charging speed of our vehicles." Adam felt a rush of pride. It was the kind of recognition he had dreamed of, and now it was becoming a reality. "That means a lot. I've been working on these ideas for so long, and I'm just happy they're being taken seriously." Elon smiled. "Well, they deserve to be. Your innovation could be a game changer. And speaking of that, I wanted to ask you something." Adam raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "What's that?" "I'm planning on expanding Tesla's energy storage division. With the success of your battery designs, I think you could lead the way on that. You've proven yourself with these innovations. I'd like to offer you a more permanent role, head of the energy storage division. What do you think?" Adam was stunned. It was an offer he hadn't expected. In just a few short months, he had gone from being a homeless man on the streets to being offered a leadership position at one of the most innovative companies in the world. It was everything he had dreamed of and more. I'm honored," Adam finally said, trying to find the right words. "I'd love to. I can't even begin to explain what this means to me." "I knew you'd say yes," Elon said with a grin. "I think you're the right person for the job, and we're going to need someone who understands the technology as well as you do." As Adam left the break room, his mind was buzzing. The professional success was overwhelming, but it was the personal success that meant the most to him. The possibility of rebuilding his family, of seeing Lily again, was a dream he never thought he'd have the chance to chase. That night, Adam sat down at his desk, his phone on the table next to him. He thought about what Elon had said, about his new role at Tesla, and about the future that was finally within his reach. His thoughts drifted back to Lily. He had a long road ahead of him, but he was determined to make things right. For the first time in years, Adam felt like he had the strength to take on everything: his career, his personal life, and his relationship with Lily. The journey wasn't over, but it was just beginning. The months following Adam's acceptance of the role at Tesla were a whirlwind of new opportunities, challenges, and growth. As head of the energy storage division, Adam had found himself at the forefront of some of the most innovative projects at Tesla. His role was more than just about improving battery technology. It was about shaping the future of energy itself. Tesla's energy storage division was rapidly expanding, and Adam had quickly become one of the key figures driving the company's plans to revolutionize how the world stored and used power. His designs had made a tangible impact on the performance of Tesla's batteries, contributing to shorter charge times and longer battery life in the vehicles. But the energy storage solutions were where Adam truly saw the potential to change the world. He had begun working on large-scale energy storage systems, projects that could store and distribute renewable energy to communities around the globe, particularly in areas where energy grids were unreliable or non-existent. He was excited about the possibilities. The prospect of shifting the balance from fossil fuels to clean, sustainable energy was the ultimate goal for Adam, and he was determined to be a part of that change. Despite the professional success, however, the personal side of his life still weighed heavily on him. His relationship with Claire and Lily remained fragile. He had visited Lily a few times, each meeting filled with a mixture of joy and uncertainty. She was growing so fast, and Adam couldn't help but wonder if she would ever truly forgive him for the years he had missed. It was a difficult thing to reconcile. The hope for a second chance, but the fear of failing her again. One evening, after a long day of meetings and brainstorming sessions, Adam sat at his desk in Tesla's headquarters, staring at the glowing blueprints of the next big project. The work was fulfilling, but his mind wasn't fully in it. He thought about the phone call he had received from Claire just a few weeks ago. It had been the first time in years that they had spoken candidly. "I'm giving you a chance, Adam," she had said, "but I need to see you prove that you're not going to disappear again. Lily needs stability. I don't want to risk her heart again." The words had stung, but they had also been a wake-up call. Adam knew that this was his moment to prove he could be the father Lily deserved, and more than that, to prove to Claire that he was capable of stability. But stability in his career didn't necessarily mean stability in his personal life. Every time he looked at his phone, he wondered if Claire had been trying to reach him, and if she had changed her mind about him being a part of Lily's life. Adam ran a hand through his hair, his thoughts interrupted by the sudden buzz of his phone. It was an email, and for a split second, he hoped it was from Claire. But instead, it was from Elon Musk himself. "Adam, I've been reviewing your progress with the energy storage projects, and I must say, I'm impressed. We're looking at expanding the scope of your team to include more research into scalable solutions for renewable energy storage. This is going to be a game changer. Let's discuss next steps." "Looking forward to hearing your ideas, Elon Musk." Adam couldn't help but smile. This was the confirmation he needed. His work was recognized, and it was moving forward at a pace he hadn't expected. The scale of the project had expanded significantly, and Tesla was now looking at using his designs not only in cars, but in large-scale solar and wind energy storage projects. But as exciting as this was, Adam couldn't ignore the gnawing feeling in his stomach. The next few months were going to be crucial. If Tesla was going to make renewable energy storage a reality, they needed someone who could not only lead the team, but who could handle the pressure that came with such an ambitious goal. Adam was ready for the challenge, but the question lingered. Was he ready for the pressure of balancing his career with his personal life? The following day, Adam found himself at a meeting with Elon and the other senior engineers at Tesla. They were discussing the future of energy storage, specifically how Tesla could develop large-scale solutions that could store solar energy in areas with unreliable grids. The conversation quickly turned to a new initiative Elon wanted to launch, focusing on off-grid solutions for rural communities and developing nations. "Elon, this is exactly what I've been working toward," Adam said, leaning forward, his excitement palpable. "We can use the same technology we've applied to the batteries in our cars for these systems. It's scalable, modular, and could transform how energy is distributed." Elon nodded, clearly impressed. "That's the direction I'm thinking too. We need to solve the last mile problem, getting energy to people who need it most, but we need to act fast. The world is changing, and we need to keep pace with the need for cleaner, more sustainable energy." The conversation grew more technical, but Adam's mind was still partly elsewhere. Elon's enthusiasm and vision were contagious, but Adam's focus kept returning to his family. The opportunity he had at Tesla was huge, but with every step forward professionally, he wondered if he was moving away from the personal life he had once dreamed of rebuilding. The next day, Adam went to the lab to check on the progress of the large-scale storage unit prototypes. His team was making strides, but they were also facing obstacles. The systems were more complex than anticipated, and there were issues with the heat dissipation in some of the larger units. As Adam studied the data, he couldn't shake the nagging feeling that something was missing. A few hours later, he found himself in a meeting with Dr. Helen Maxwell, Tesla's head of battery research. They were discussing the latest round of tests on the energy storage systems when Dr. Maxwell spoke up. Adam, there's something I've been meaning to ask you. I've noticed how much you've been putting into this project, but I also know you've been dealing with a lot personally. Is everything okay? Adam looked up, surprised. He had always been so focused on the work that he hadn't realized how obvious his stress was. But Dr. Maxwell had always been perceptive, and he trusted her. It's been a lot, Adam admitted. I've got this project, which is everything I've worked for, but I'm also trying to rebuild my life, my relationship with my daughter, trying to be the father I wasn't before. Dr. Maxwell nodded, understanding. You're not alone, Adam. Everyone at Tesla is here because they're committed to something bigger than themselves. But that doesn't mean you have to do it all alone. Don't forget to take care of yourself too. Her words stuck with him as he left the meeting. The pressure of leading such a large-scale project was immense, but he was determined not to let it destroy the chance he had to reconnect with Lily and Claire. He had been given a second chance in life, and he wasn't about to waste it. That evening, after another long day in the lab, Adam sat in his apartment, reflecting on everything he had accomplished, and everything still left to do. His phone buzzed again. This time it was a message from Claire. Adam, Lily, and I will be in town next week. I'm willing to let you see her, but you need to show that this isn't just a passing phase for you. We'll meet at a cafe in the city. Let's take it slow. Claire Adams' heart soared. This was it, a second chance. A chance to show Claire that he could be the father Lily needed, and to prove to himself that he could balance his professional life with his personal growth. The days leading up to the meeting with Claire and Lily felt like an eternity. Adam poured himself into his work, determined to make the most of the opportunity he had at Tesla. The energy storage projects were progressing rapidly, and his team was pushing the boundaries of what was possible with renewable energy. Tesla was moving toward becoming the global leader in energy solutions, and Adam was at the heart of it all. But no matter how thrilling his professional success was, nothing could match the importance of what lay ahead. He had been given a second chance to be a part of his daughter's life, and Adam wasn't about to let it slip through his fingers. The morning of the meeting, Adam stood in front of the mirror in his apartment, adjusting his tie for the third time. It had been years since he had seen Lily, and the thought of being face-to-face with her again filled him with a mixture of excitement and fear. He was still the same man, but he had changed, and he needed to show her that change. He needed to prove that he was someone worthy of her love and trust. As he walked through the streets of San Francisco toward the cafe where they had agreed to meet, his thoughts wandered. The city, once a place of isolation and struggle, now felt different. It felt like a place where he could truly begin anew, where he had a chance to rewrite his story. When Adam arrived at the cafe, he saw Claire sitting at a table near the window, watching the passers-by. She looked much the same as he remembered, strong yet vulnerable. Her eyes met his, and there was a flicker of something, maybe surprise, maybe skepticism, as if she wasn't quite sure what to expect. Adam, she said, her voice calm but guarded, thanks for meeting us. Lily's in the bathroom. Adam nodded, his heart pounding. Of course. I've missed her. Claire studied him for a moment, her expression unreadable. I know you've been working hard at Tesla. I see the headlines, Adam. But the real question is whether you can prove that you're here for the long haul. For her, Adam swallowed, knowing that words alone wouldn't be enough. I know. I'm not asking for everything all at once, but I'm ready to be there for her. And for you, Claire. I know I let you both down, but I won't make the same mistakes again. Claire didn't answer immediately, but before she could say anything more, Lily appeared at the table. She looked so much older than Adam remembered. Her hair had grown longer, and she had the same bright eyes he had always known, though now they held a sense of maturity. She looked at him hesitantly, as though she wasn't sure who he was. "Hi, Daddy," Lily said, her voice small but warm. Adam's breath caught in his throat. He had expected this moment to be difficult, but the wave of emotion that hit him was overwhelming. She was here. She was real. She was standing in front of him, and for the first time in years, Adam felt like he was truly seeing her, not just in his dreams or memories, but in the present. "Hi, sweetheart," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I've missed you so much." Lily sat down next to Claire, her eyes still studying Adam. The silence between them felt heavy, but Adam knew that words wouldn't fix everything. This would take time, but he was willing to take whatever time was necessary. For the next hour they talked, mostly about the things that mattered to Lily: her school, her friends, her favorite activities. Adam tried to keep the conversation light, avoiding any mention of the past or what he had lost. He was focused on the present, on rebuilding the trust that had been shattered. When it was time to leave, Adam stood up, unsure of what to say next. He glanced at Claire, who was watching him with a mixture of curiosity and caution. "Thank you for giving me this chance," Adam said quietly. "I'll keep proving to you that I can be the father Lily deserves, and I'll be here whenever you're ready to talk." Claire didn't respond immediately, but as she stood to leave, she gave him a small nod. "I'll keep my word, Adam, but you'll have to keep yours too." Adam watched as Claire and Lily left the cafe. His heart was full of hope, but also full of a bittersweet sadness. This wasn't the end. It wasn't even the beginning of the end, but it was a step forward. And for the first time in years, Adam felt like he was finally on the path to redemption. The next few days were filled with a sense of anticipation and renewal. Adam threw himself back into his work at Tesla, focusing on the projects that would drive the future of energy storage. The energy storage division was on the verge of making another major breakthrough, and Adam was at the helm, leading his team toward a world-changing goal. Elon Musk had been thrilled with the latest tests. The energy storage systems were more efficient than ever before, and the potential for scalable solutions was within reach. Tesla's next-generation battery technology, built on Adam's original ideas, was now the foundation for their plans to change the way the world consumed and stored energy. But even as the work at Tesla became more exhilarating, Adam couldn't shake the feeling that something was still missing. He had achieved so much, but he knew that without his family, it wouldn't mean anything. A few weeks later, Adam received a call from Claire. She had agreed to let him see Lily again. Slowly, they began to rebuild their relationship. One phone call, one visit, one conversation at a time. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. Adam was determined to show them that he could be the father they needed, and he would take things as slowly as they required. Then one day, as Adam stood in the Tesla lab, overseeing the final steps of a crucial project, he received a message from Claire. They had agreed on a weekend visit with Lily. This time, Adam wasn't just going to see her in a cafe. He was going to spend time with her, be present in her life, and prove that he was a part of her future. A few months later, Tesla made a historic announcement. The first commercial-scale renewable energy storage solution, powered by the very technology Adam had helped develop, was set to go live. It was a monumental achievement, one that would transform the way the world thought about energy. But for Adam, it was more than just a victory in the tech world. It was a symbol of everything he had fought for: his career, his redemption, and his family. As the news spread and Tesla's energy storage systems began to roll out across the globe, Adam stood at the forefront of something truly groundbreaking. He had gone from a homeless engineer with nothing but a dream to a leader in one of the most innovative companies in the world. But the most important part of his journey wasn't the technology. It was the chance to rebuild his life and reconnect with his daughter. And as Adam looked out over the skyline of San Francisco one evening, with the future of energy in his hands, he knew that this was only the beginning.